Hello and welcome to the TECHunplugged Take. I'm Max Mortillaro, and today I'm joined by Arjan Timmerman, and we're going to have a take on TFD22 and the Commvault presentation. Hello, Arjan.
Hi, Max. How's life today? Post-COVID, let's put it that way.
Life post-COVID is always better than life with COVID. So, Arjan, you've been going through that yourself as well, of course. So glad that you're back in shape, that we're back in shape. And without further ado, let's talk about Commvault. So we've been following the TFD22 presentation, where we have been hearing about Metallic, we've been hearing about their Kubernetes and VM offering, and about Hedvig. So what's your take on that? Do you want to start with Metallic, perhaps?
Yeah, sure, no problem at all. I think if you look at Metallic, we've covered a lot with Metallic themselves when they got into the EMEA region with their Metallic offering. So yeah, we already had a good amount of information about what they're doing with Metallic, how they're doing it. They're already a year into business in the US. And from that part, I think it's really good to dive a little bit deeper into what the Metallic offering is. So it's a offering in which companies can utilize a Commvault environment within the Azure, the Microsoft Azure environment, protecting their SaaS applications, as well as an offering that gives them the opportunity to back up and restore directly into Azure, as well as a Commvault offering that is in Azure itself. So from that perspective, it's a really good thing. What is important to me and for the customers that I'm working with is that the offering offers the GDPR and all that kind of stuff, because we're in EMEA and we need to make sure that if we put our data into the cloud or our applications into the cloud or utilize SaaS application out of the cloud, that certain compliancy is met. And I really think that Commvault has a big play in this. Also because, don't forget, this is a company that's been around for 30 years in this industry. So they've got a whole bunch of customers already. And what you see with these kind of companies is normally they tend to go into some sort of mode that we already got customers, so let's get the money out of them and that's it. I really appreciate what Commvault is doing with all the offerings that they're giving to the customers right now. They're really into everything that's new and providing offerings for it. That's my view. Let's hear yours.
Yeah, of course. So just to recapitulate a bit also for those watching. So Metallic was launched in last year, I think, at Commvault Go in the US. As you mentioned, they've been launching last month. We covered them for the launch in EMEA. So they now have 14 regions. And it is it kind of covers four things, right? I mean, when the launch was announced, it was covering data itself. So storing data to the cloud, which is air-gapped. They were covering, if I'm not mistaken, Office 365. So that's the SaaS offering. And the third one was endpoint. And maybe there was a fourth one as well. Don't remember now. And what they've been introducing now is VMs and Kubernetes and databases. And maybe a couple more. I don't remember now. But otherwise, I fully agree with you. The key thing there is that so it requires the customer to be somehow into the Commvault ecosystem to some extent. But the way it works is so easy. You just have a few clicks to set up. The customer owns their own private key. So from a security perspective, it's great. And the customer doesn't have to care about configuring anything on the back end. All the management, all the, let's say, bad stuff that needs to be set up is done by Commvault on the back end. So it's really a cool offering. So in the interest of time, maybe we can move on to the Kubernetes announcement, the fact that they're going to back up a Kubernetes system. So what do you think about that?
It kind of interests me that the Kubernetes offering is there. Looking at Kubernetes, looking at containerization and all that kind of stuff, it was always pets versus cattle and how you operate within or how you interact with pets and how you interact with cattle, and that the cattle is more like if a cow dies, it's not good, but it's okay, that's life, and you go on. So it kind of intrigues me where all this, now we need to back up the containerizations or the containerization environments as well, and to what extent and all that kind of stuff. I'm not that deep into Kubernetes and all that kind of stuff, but it really intrigues me that already companies like Commvault are going in that direction and helping their customers leverage certain things, because it's not easy to set up Kubernetes, it's not easy to maintain it, and it's probably not easy to back up it as well. So having a company that helps you with that, for me, is really good. But I'm still grasping onto, okay, but from a container perspective, what do I need to back up? What don't I want to back up? Because I said, pets versus cattle, I don't want to back up a cow.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, there's data, right? So the container is just, if you look at it, is just a new way of deploying applications. So instead of having monolithic applications, you have microservices, you have containers, and so on. But there's still data somewhere. So you need to back up those core systems which contain the data. And even if you're not backing up the VM anymore, the monolithic application, you still need to back up the infrastructure. So you need to back up, I don't know, the way your scheduler, your Kubernetes scheduler is set up. You need to back up the way the containers are configured. You need to back up the way the entire pipeline for deploying the application, the CI/CD pipeline works, and so on. And of course, as you say, it's not easy, because what you had before was, I've got my application, I've got my code repository, I've got my VM and my database, and I'm just going to back this whole stuff and send it, and I'm done. And here it's much more components. So while it's leaner to deploy, it becomes a bit more complex to back up. And the question is, there is the backup organization which can help you back up this environment, and to some extent, right? Because if you look at it, it's data sitting somewhere, so you can back it up. The thing is, how do you go beyond that? How are you going to be able to resume, to restore, to do DR on a containerized application? It gets much more complex. So when you look at it from the data perspective, it's easy. When you look at it from the application readiness perspective, the data recovery and so on, it gets much more complex. The question is, to which extent Commvault can help you integrate all of that? Maybe there's going to be parts where they can help easily, and maybe there's going to be, and surely there's going to be parts where the engineers, the architects need to do their job. So that's it, on that side. I think we maybe have 1 minute to touch the Hedvig point. So I don't know if you had the chance to follow the Hedvig presentation yourself.
No, not that much. I had some issues in the house that I needed to attend to, so I didn't.
2020.
Yeah, so I needed to be there during the Hedvig presentation, or a big part of it at least. I've seen Hedvig before it was taken over by Commvault. It's a great storage offering. I'm kind of wondering how Commvault is integrating that into their complete ecosystem. So maybe they talked about that yesterday and I missed that, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so just for the readers, Hedvig was founded, I don't know when, maybe 12, 14. Actually, we both covered Hedvig a long time ago at some of the early storage field days. I remember covering them in 2016 when I was visiting Hedvig's HQ, and it was a kind of a Scalots distributed storage appliance, so software defined, if you will. It's a scale-out architecture which allowed replication, towards different nodes, different racks, different even data centers. Pretty cool stuff. Probably not performance oriented, more capacity oriented. I think more as a perhaps secondary storage solution, or as some people even call it 1.5x because it can go to primary storage, but it's not really perhaps the ideal case. But anyways, why does it make sense for Commvault? I think Commvault acquired them because they were relying before on some, I don't know if it was Red Hat-based file system, and maybe purchasing a storage company was perhaps better. Not just looking at the fact that they needed to replace their internal storage layer for their already existing products, but by the fact that they wanted to move on towards data management offering. And therefore I think that Hyperscale X, which is the latest iteration somehow of the Hedvig product, is now becoming the foundation on which Commvault is going to build all of their products. So right now it's sold as an appliance for backup, as a kind of a backup appliance. But in the future, we cannot exclude that they're going to use that as a kind of an entry point. People who are used to buy Commvault as a software solution can still do so. But people who want to use Commvault, who want to have this kind of appliance-based approach, as we see with some of their competitors, people which have been there a long time, like Rubrik, like Cohesity, and so on. So maybe that's also another entry point for them.
Yeah, so probably something object storage, that kind of stuff, which is also a great thing for backup as well. So who knows? But I think we have to leave it with that.
Thank you very much. And we'll be covering that in articles as well after the event. So feel free to tune in to techunplugged.io/blog for more content. Thank you.